Buongiorno a tutti. Okay, this will probably be a little bit longer video, so just turn it off now if you don't like my long videos. Anyways, cherry tree. Look at that. That's amazing. Anyways, we started yesterday calling in the big guns to do the tilling of the land so we can plant the vegetables. So got a couple of areas already cleared and ready to be planted. This area here, and then another area up north, and it'll be done today. But continuing on, let's just take a look at what we've got going on the farm. Okay, the olive trees are looking good and strong. This is going to be a good year for olives. Again, for those playing at home, I have 50 olive trees. Technically, I have 49, but we'll have a good crop of olives this year. Also, down by the olive trees, I have 3 lonely pear trees down here. In the past, I haven't gotten any pears off of this one's down here because they tend to be neglected. They don't get watered and they just go on their own. But if you can see this year, quite a few already forming on this tree, and I'll go out on a limb and say that the other 2 down here will be kind of equivalent. Okay, sticking with the pear theme, this pear tree here has tons. That pear. There are 2 on the far end, 1 here in the middle, and this has a ton of pears on it as well. Look at them all. And if we continue up here to the final pear tree, let me do the math real quick. 3 and 2 is 5, and 4 is 9, and this will be number 10. And this is the one that I get the most pears out of every year. So I think we're going to be in good shape for pears. Quickly, apricots. This tree here is doing really well. You can see, hopefully, apricots. Those will be coming out soon. That apricot tree there, which used to be my biggest yield, but last year I didn't get much. It has a bunch, but they're real small, so it's going to be a little bit delayed this year, maybe. This apricot tree has a bunch up top. The lower level doesn't seem to have much, but if I go way up to the top, there are a bunch of apricots up there, so we'll see what becomes of this. And the last apricot tree, number 6, is doing fine here. So we'll have some apricots here. So that's 6 apricot trees, 10 pear trees. Here's the beginning of the vegetable planting for some kohlrabi, some radicchio. I believe I've got some tomatoes that I've been putting in here, and a whole row here and here of, well, here in the back row there of onions. Okay, moving on to fig trees. And this will be a weird year for figs because I always have too many, and some of the trees were infested with this conchiglio or whatever it's called, a bug. So I did a lot of pruning and butchering this year. But as you can see, hopefully you can see, this tree is completely flush with figs, more than I can eat, more than I would want to eat, probably more than my neighbors want to eat. So even if I end up with just this one tree, I'll be fine. This tree we completely butchered, but even though we butchered it, you can even see new growth and 1 fig. No, 2 figs is what up there. And of course everybody's favorite, Bafana. And this fig tree, obviously nothing's going to come on this one this year, but that's okay. It was completely infested and it was too big to even manage anyways. And there's the boys with the Moto Zappa, the rototiller, going to work. Okay, these 2 fig trees down here, we obviously did a hatchet job on, but again, even doing a hatchet job, you can see a couple of figs here, 1, 2, 3, 4 figs there, 5 on that. This tree is pretty much the same. We chopped it down to make it more manageable, but I'm still counting 4 figs. Down here, this is a new fig tree. Not seeing any figs yet, but I'm not too concerned. And then one more back here. after we pass a pear tree that I didn't discuss earlier. But we've got figs coming here. These ones are smaller than the ones I'd seen previously, so maybe they'll come a little later. That is the one good thing about the figs here, is that Senora Infantino, the owner before me, she did a really good job of having different varieties of figs that kind of last all the way from, I want to say June is when I get the first ones, till November and December when I get the last ones. So it's almost a constant yield. Again, more figs than I want, more figs than I can eat, but at least if you get them year round. Okay, won't bore you with all the fig trees, but there were 7 there. This is 8, this is 9, that's 10, and there's 2 back up on the back side, 11 and 12. So the total number of fig trees is 12. Okay, backing off trees for a second. Let's come back here, because this, my friends, is not corn. That is garlic. And then on the back row there, those are some of my pepper plants, but mostly garlic here. Back to trees, sorry. Okay, so let's come here. I have 3 persimmons trees. We kind of did an experiment, chopping one completely all the way back, chopping one halfway. This one I think is the one we did considered halfway. And I got green and growth, so expecting khakis. I have persimmons. I have tons of persimmons, again, more than I could possibly eat. This one we did a pretty massive, sorry. That one we did a massive. This one we did just a trim. It'll be fine. And then the final one we didn't really touch at all. And again, you can see it's right there, and it's completely flush and green, so expecting a good year from that. Okay, so I have 3 apple trees, all 3 different apple types. This here is, and you can see, I'm going to have some, hopefully you can see. I can't tell if you can see, hang on. Anyways, I've got some small apples growing there. These ones are the crab apples. This is the Annone, which is the custard apple. And not to worry that it looks completely barren, because it bears fruit for some strange reason, just doesn't have leaves right now. And this is the last apple tree. This is kind of interesting because just a couple of days ago, they were all nubs like this, and then they kind of open up like that, and then getting the actual, so interesting. I only get like 4 or 5 apples off this tree normally. Let's see if I can get more this year. And then continue on the lonely story of my one pomegranate tree. I think I'm going to plant a lot more. I've cut this thing back a lot this year, and the reason was every year I get a ton of flowers, like 400 flowers on this tree, and I get all excited knowing that I'm going to have 400 pomegranates, and then only 2 or 3 pollinate, and I end up with 2 or 3 pomegranates, which pisses me off. So cut it back. I think I'm probably going to need another one, and maybe have to self-pollinate it when the flowers do come. This tree here is called a Nespala, which is a loquat in English. Kind of interesting because I'm up at altitude here. My Moto Zeppa guy, Sebastiano, he's down at sea level, and his are all ripe and ready to go. Mine are not. Might as well stick around with the lemons while we're in this area. So always lemons year round here. You can see that lemon tree there. And I won't talk about citruses because we're in the wrong time of year. But just know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 either oranges or mandarins. So, oh, and one's a grapefruit. Okay, winding down the fruit trees. Here I have a Mellicotonia or quince tree. I have 2. I had a third, but that was dead. So down to 2. These things produce a lot of fruit, and they're used to make marmalades and candies that are very, very delicious. So let's see. Next, might as well go to the cherries that I talked about earlier. There's that first cherry tree. There's the second cherry tree. And you'll have to take my word on it, but there's the third cherry tree. back there beyond the grapevines and other tree. One other tree here to speak of that I get nothing from is a carob tree. And then the other fruit that I get nothing from is, that's a peach tree, that's a peach tree. I cut down that peach tree over there. And then behind the cherry tree there is a nectarine, and I get little to nothing out of that. And then I also planted 2 of those flat peaches up here. Nothing to see. One of them looks like it's thriving, one of them looks like it's dead. I have 3 lime trees. There, 2 are okay. Actually, 1 is doing really well, 1 is middling, and 1 is dead. And then beyond that, I have 2 kiwis and 2 mangoes in pots that I'm trying to grow, hopefully with the help of my cousin Giovanna from Pietra Pezzia. I've got 3 avocado trees that are in buckets right now. But just to show you that I'm not just a heathen, I do have roses everywhere. Okay, and that covers all of the fruit trees I think of. As you know, there's 100 prickly pear cacti here, Fica de India. So these 2 trees here, back to back, that small one there that's coming to grow, and then on the other side of that whole row of Fica de Indias, there's 1 more. These are walnut trees, and I've been doing pretty well getting walnuts out of here. So I don't expect anything different this year. As a matter of fact, you can see there is a lot of this, which doesn't necessarily equate to 1-for-1 walnuts, but it's a good sign that I've got growth on there. Coming down here, it is going to be a good year for almonds, so all of my almond friends, prepare to be inundated with some almonds at your house. Only if you live in Avila. But this almond tree, hopefully the sun's probably in the wrong direction, but if you can see up there, there's easily more than 100, probably 200 almonds on this tree alone. Okay, in this section I have 3 more almond trees, and again, because nature is a fickle beast, we come to this almond tree here and we see that there's not a single almond on the tree. Oh, I lied to you. 1 almond on that tree here. Then I come to this tree, and I mean, here's a single one, but trust me, on this one, there's another one hiding up there. Up there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this one probably has 100 or so, because this is a fairly big tree going over. So on this tree is good. And then this is another tree that, if you go way up to the top, there are a ton of almonds, but down here where we did some trimming this year, there doesn't seem to be any at the lower level, but that just means next year it'll probably come up and do well. That's my theory. Hold 1. Okay, it's almost over, kids. You can take a break. Maybe, as soon as you watch Salvatore dance. So, the last thing on the list, and I always neglect to go over these, are the grapevines. And they always look like they're gonna not produce, but they always end up producing. So here are 2 grapevines here. Okay, continuing on, I have 2 more grapevines here. And again, this year we did like a massive hack job on the grapevines, only because they were unruly and they needed to be cleaned up a little bit. So 2 more grapevines here. Okay, this area here and this trellis is completely full, but it's 1 grapevine here, 1 big grapevine down there. Come on the opposite side of the trellis, and you can see right here, I've got 1 grapevine here coming up, another grapevine here. So let's do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7, this is 8. And here we come with 9 and 10 over here. Don't worry, kids, if you need to go to the bathroom, just hold on. 2 more seconds, we'll be done here. There's a mandarin tree that we're not talking about. Oh, there's 3 grapevines here. 1, 2, 3. And you can see they're leafing. So it's time to start spraying them and see what happens. So I'm going to come back for a roundup when I do the actual math on all these trees here. Alrighty, don't worry, this is not on the test. So all those numbers I gave you before, just throw them out the window. All right, I went back and did a count. We are looking at 49 olives, 1 pomegranate, 3 persimmons, or kakis as they're called in Sicily, 3 limes, 2 mangoes, 2 kiwis, 3 apples. Each apple is a different type: crab apple, a regular apple, and an annona, which is the custard apple. I have 1 zaba, which is kind of in the apple family, but it's a little off. That's an ancient Sicilian fruit. I have 1 giant bay leaf tree, and not a bush, 1 giant rosemary bush, 1 carob tree that doesn't give me anything, as I said before. We got 3 cherry trees. I have 5 peach trees, 2 flat peaches, 2 regular peach trees, and then 1 nectarine. I have 12 fig trees, 6 apricots, 13 pears, 4 almonds, 4 walnuts. We've got 2, what the hell did I write? Oh, Chelsea. Those are the mulberry trees. I got 2 of them. 1 Nespala, which is the loquat. 2 Mellicotonias, which is the quint. 2 lemon trees, 1 grapefruit trees, 5 oranges, 5 mandarins, 11 grapevines, and 100 prickly pears. Oh, and then did I already say the 4 almonds and 4 walnuts? So that's the list. Okay, and if you've made it this far, you probably have already made it far enough that you know the answers to these questions, but I'll say them anyways. So of all these fruits and vegetables and whatnot, I do not sell anything. This is all for my own consumption, and what I can't eat myself, I give away to friends and neighbors. I've looked into seeing if there's a food bank in Avila that I can donate to. I haven't found one. I know there is one in Syracuse, which maybe I'll be, if I have so many, there's so much this year that I have to give some stuff away, I'll see if I can't head up that way. But that's what we got here. A ton of trees. Once again, I have no clue what I'm doing, so and neither does anybody else, which is good. One of the things I've always said about Sicily is everybody's an expert, and I've now come to the conclusion, because I thought I was doing everything wrong always, that if somebody tells me I did something wrong and they say the solution is ABC, and then somebody else tells me I did something wrong and the solution is XYZ, and then somebody else tells me I did something wrong but the solution is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somebody else tells me I did it wrong but the solution is brown, green, yellow, I say, okay, you're all full of shit, just like I'm full of shit. So I'm not too concerned about other people's opinions on what I should do, how I should do it, when I should do it, unless I got 3 people who tell me I did something wrong and the solution is ABC. Then I say, okay, maybe the solution is ABC. But I just can't get wrapped up in everybody telling me, you know, you did that wrong, you need to trim this, you need to do that, don't touch that plant, you know, string that up, don't string that up, you need to replant that every year, that can stay every other year. It's too much craziness up here. But it must be this great Sicilian sun that just brings it on me. So that's it for today's video. I know it ran longer than the normal ones, but you'll probably get one in a couple of months, maybe a month or so, when we actually start to see some of this fruit coming up. Enjoy your Sunday. Buongiorno a tutti. Okay, this will probably be a little bit longer video, so just turn it off now if you don't like my long videos. Anyways, cherry tree. Look at that. That's amazing. Anyways, we started yesterday calling in the big guns to do the tilling of the land so we can plant the vegetables. So we've got a couple of areas already cleared and ready to be planted. This area here, and then another area up north, and it'll be done today. But continuing on, let's just take a look at what we've got going on the farm. Okay, the olive trees are looking good and strong. This is going to be a good year for olives. Again, for those playing at home, I have 50 olive trees. Technically, I have 49, but we'll have a good crop of olives this year. Also, down by the olive trees, I have 3 lonely pear trees down here. In the past, I haven't gotten any pears off of this one's down here because they tend to be neglected. They don't get watered and they just go on their own. But if you can see this year, quite a few already forming on this tree, and I'll go out on a limb and say that the other 2 down here will be kind of equivalent. Okay, sticking with the pear theme, this pear tree here has tons. That pear, there are 2 on the far end, 1 here in the middle, and this has a ton of pears on it as well. Look at them all. And if we continue up here to the final pear tree, me do the math real quick. 3 and 2 is 5. And 4 is 9. And this will be number 10. And this is the one that I get the most pears out of every year. So I think we're going to be in good shape for pears. Quickly, apricots. This tree here is doing really well. You can see, hopefully, apricots. Those will be coming out soon. That apricot tree there, which used to be my biggest yield, but last year I didn't get much. It has a bunch, but they're real small, so it's going to be a little bit delayed this year, maybe. This apricot tree has a bunch up top. The lower level doesn't seem to have much, but if I go way up to the top, there are a bunch of apricots up there, so we'll see what becomes of this. And the last apricot tree, number 6, is doing fine here. So we'll have some apricots here. So that's 6 apricot trees, 10 pear trees. Here's the beginning of the vegetable planting for some kohlrabi, some radicchio. I believe I've got some tomatoes that I've been putting here, and a whole row here and here of, well, here in the back row there of onions.